Welcome, reader, to Aetheria, a realm where gods have walked, dragons soar, and diverse races thrive, all amidst ancient mysteries and untamed lands. Heroes fought monsters, dragons were feared and admired dwarves, made majestic cities, and bandits lived in cities of their own. Chapter 1. The Call to Adventure. In a quaint countryside town, young kobold Judd wandered through its charming streets until he reached a modest establishment. As the door closed behind him with a soft chime, his eyes met the gaze of an elderly dwarf named Glider. With a gravelly voice carrying a warm smile, Glider greeted, "Hello, Judd. Here for the usual?" Judd's face lit up and he replied, "No thank you, Glider. I've actually been accepted into the ruin exploration team at the Adventurers Guild. I'm here because the group needs rations, and we all agreed Glider's bakery was the best choice." Glider's expression shifted to one of astonishment, and he motioned for Judd to come closer. In a hushed tone, he continued, "Judd, my lad, that's a daring and perilous path you've chosen. Ruin exploration is not a venture for the faint-hearted. The remnants of Aetheria's past hold secrets that can challenge even the bravest souls. But I see that fiery determination in your eyes, akin to the blaze of a dragon's breath. If this is your chosen path, I won't stand in your way." Glider's hand rested reassuringly on Judd's scaled shoulder, guiding him to a weathered wooden counter adorned with an array of baked treats and various tea leaves. "But before you embark on this journey, my young friend, you'll need sustenance. A full stomach and a warm heart can make all the difference when confronting the unknown." As Judd selected an assortment of pastries and tea, Glider imparted more wisdom. "Remember, Aetheria is a realm of wonder and danger. The legends whisper of ancient dragons lingering in hidden valleys, and the ruins hold both forgotten treasures and age-old curses. You'll require more than mere rations to face what lies ahead." Judd nodded, his eyes a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "I understand it won't be easy, Glider, but I've dreamt of this since I was a hatchling. I wish to unearth the history of our world, to tread upon the same lands our ancestors once did, and to breathe life back into their stories." Glider's smile widened, and he reached under the counter, producing an aged but well-maintained sword. With a nostalgic glint in his eye, he handed it to Judd. "Then take this, lad. It's a sword that once served me well in my own days as an adventurer. May it find new purpose in your capable hands." Judd's surprise was evident as he accepted the sword, feeling its weight and the echoes of history it carried. "Thank you, Glider. I promise to honor its legacy and wield it with the respect it deserves." With a heart full of gratitude and resolve, Judd carefully tucked the sword into his satchel alongside the bundle of provisions. "Thank you for everything." With determination blazing anew and Glider's blessings behind him, Judd departed the bakery, leaving behind the aroma of freshly baked goods and the warmth of Glider's well wishes. As he walked towards the town center, a middle-aged human man called out, "Judd, your armor is fixed up, and the new parts have been made. Why don't you come and grab it, son?" Judd beamed with joy as he recognized the voice of Mr. Dren, the skilled blacksmith. His heart raced, and he wasted no time rushing over to him. With an excited tone, Judd asked, "Mr. Dren, is it all done and ready? Can I finally wear it?" The prospect of donning the new armor he had helped create filled him with anticipation. Over the past 2 years, Judd had diligently gathered and repurposed pieces from his adventures, shaping them into a unique armor set with the guidance of Mr. Dren and his son, Jarl. This ensemble was designed to complement a sword that Judd had been told was found with him when he was discovered as a newborn in the Axis Mundi. Despite knowing about his mysterious origin, Judd never sought special treatment and kept this part of his history to himself. As he tried on the different pieces of armor, a sense of pride swelled within Judd. The various components, while distinct, had been carefully molded into a harmonious whole. He secured the chestplate, fastened the gauntlets, and with a grateful nod to Mr. Dren and Jarl, he picked up his rations and headed back to the square where the group was gathering for their impending expedition. In the square, a diverse assembly of adventurers had gathered, representing a myriad of races and backgrounds. The leader of the group, Haller, a halfling, addressed everyone, emphasizing the dangers they would face. He reminded the newer members to be cautious and playfully remarked on Judd's propensity for getting into unconventional scrapes. While Judd had a reputation for finding himself in peculiar situations, whether getting tangled in branches or misunderstanding trap mechanisms, he remained dearly beloved by the town of Ravenfell. As the group prepared to embark, Judd's familiar voice rang out, announcing his arrival with rations in hand. Kin, the bear man, greeted Judd with his characteristic deep rumble, revealing their strong bond. With the rations handed over, the group set out towards the wooden keep at the town's edge. Passers-by watched, a mix of emotions on their faces, as Judd set off once again. The older residents knew all too well the risks of exploration, and their concern for Judd's well-being was evident. Inside the wooden keep, a hub of activity awaited. Maps were spread out, equipment was inspected, and strategies were discussed. Haller's words resonated as he reminded the group of the perilous journey ahead and the need for vigilance. Amidst the gravity of the situation, there was a light-hearted nod to Judd's propensity for unconventional escapades. With their preparations complete, the group left the keep. Townsfolk watched, their expressions a blend of worry and hope. For Judd, this was more than just another adventure. With his newly forged armor, his steadfast companions, and the memory of his town behind him, he stepped into the unknown, ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 2. The Hidden Discovery. However, as he soon discovered, the journey to the ruins was far from the exciting adventure he had anticipated. The monotony was so stifling that even his attempts, along with those of his companions, to kill time, fell flat. Boredom hung heavy in the air, stifling any attempts to make the time pass more quickly. Thankfully, the tedium was broken when the group entered the Verin jungle, a place known for its dangers. The members of the expedition formed a protective circle around their supplies and those who were less skilled in combat. As they stepped into the heart of what many called the Green Hell, a renewed sense of purpose filled the air. Judd, feeling nervous as he experienced the jungle for the first time, tried to strike up a conversation with the female member standing to his left. Haller was occupied with scouting on the other side. This woman, as it turned out, was a wood golem in human guise. Memories of a wooden woman named Poplar, who had cared for him during his early years, flooded Judd's mind. He hesitated for a moment before finally asking the golem with a glimmer of hope, "Do you, by any chance, know Poplar? Could you tell me where to find her?" The golem turned to the shield guardian that was always at her side. A nod from the guardian confirmed that they were familiar with Poplar. Then the golem directed her attention back to Judd, her laughter ringing through the tense atmosphere. In his surprise, Judd stumbled backward, bumping into Haller and causing the leader to jest. "Already, eh, Judd? I was beginning to think we were overdue for one of your trademark clumsy moments." There was a playful hint in Halor's words, and the whole group paused, shared smiles spreading as they embraced the camaraderie of their shared journey. Amidst the laughter and camaraderie, the jungle suddenly came alive with sound. A series of cracks and booms resonated through the air, accompanied by a rumble that seemed to shake the very ground beneath them. The terrain ahead underwent a sudden transformation. What had appeared to be a hill just moments before now lay flat, revealing a hidden structure in its place. Dirt, Trees and flora seemed to melt away, replaced by a long-lost ruin. The expedition members exchanged surprised glances, realizing that the Shield Guardian had triggered a concealed mechanism, disguised as a mere rock, which had brought this hidden structure to light. With a mixture of awe and excitement, the group approached the newly revealed ruin. The unexpected turn of events had injected new energy into their journey. Judd's heart raced as he took in the sight before him, his curiosity reignited and his determination stronger than ever. As the group approached the newly opened expanse of land, the ground beneath them transitioned into a smoother, rock-like material. In this newfound clearing between the ruins and the jungle, the expedition members began to establish their camp. Amidst this setup, the Shield Guardian, named Carbon, engaged in discussions with Kin about organizing watch schedules for the night. Abruptly, a grinding noise pierced the air, causing the group to snap into a defensive half-circle formation around the mages and researchers. Alert and ready, they fixed their gaze on a pair of doors that had begun to creak open. Halor's voice rang out, directing Carbon to take a defensive position at the forefront. Tensions ran high as everyone braced themselves. From within the newly revealed entrance emerged a small, metal creature. Its appearance was unlike anything they had encountered before, with 4 legs, multiple metal arms ending in sharp claws, and glass-like eyes that emitted a peculiar glow. Judd found it difficult to believe what he was seeing, as golems were generally limited in size due to the complexity of the runes required for their construction. This new creature stood at a mere 3 feet, defying conventional golem-making knowledge. The small metal entity pointed a clawed appendage at itself and spoke words that were unintelligible to the group. At that moment, Judd thought he saw a nod from Poplar, adding to his disbelief. The Shield Guardian, Carbon, responded with a series of droning sounds that remarkably resembled the creature's noises. The small being seemed to ponder Carbon's response, its metallic shoulders lifting and falling in what appeared to be a shrug. Then, in a surprisingly high-pitched metallic voice, it introduced itself. "Greetings. I am Mango. This is the Olympian Tecma Foundry and Fables Defense Base. I have been assigned as your guide to assist you in exploring this site. I do not harbor any hostility toward your group. If you would follow me, I will lead you to the sleeping quarters and cafe for your settlement. Afterward, I will acquaint you with the facility." Cautiously, the group followed Mango, their curiosity outweighing their reservations. They learned that Mango's intentions were indeed genuine, but they maintained a distance, still unsure about the interactions between Carbon and this enigmatic creature. As they navigated through various rooms and corridors, they encountered a myriad of strange devices, self-illuminating metal objects, beeping contraptions, and glowing displays with inscriptions in an unfamiliar language. Mango and Halor conversed, joined by members of the group, yet Judd's focus was absorbed by his surroundings. Walking on a circular platform situated above a drop, the explorers experienced a mixture of apprehension and awe. Mango activated a button on a nearby podium, causing the platform to descend slowly, taking them further down. Amazement swept through the group as they surveyed their surroundings. The platform's movement was unlike anything achievable through magic. It was evident that they had stumbled upon something extraordinary. As the platform reached its destination, they found themselves in a grand hall. Rows of unfamiliar metal creatures lined platforms attached to the walls, commanding a sense of both wonder and trepidation. A figure seated on a throne at the far end of the hall added an air of authority. Kin approached one of the creatures, tapping its head with no response. Towering over them, some even surpassing Kin's height of 8 feet, these creatures appeared different from Mango, hinting at potential conflict roles. The researchers and mages puzzled over their purpose, uncovering more questions than answers in the process. With time hanging heavy on his hands, Judd decided to approach Poplar. The two of them settled at the foot of the steps leading to the throne, each step just slightly too tall for anyone in their party to easily climb. They hesitated, not daring to ascend the steps in case the figure on the throne showed any signs of movement. Engaging in an intense conversation, they caught up on lost time. Poplar began to unveil a history that left Judd both intrigued and astonished. Poplar unveiled the origins of both herself and Carbon, a creation birthed by the Olympians, a civilization that thrived around 17,040 years ago. This civilization's tragic downfall was orchestrated by Corel, a malevolent entity driven by the goal of replacing organic life with mechanical counterparts, driven by a disdain for what it considered flea-based life forms. The figure seated on the throne, referred to as the One, had valiantly stood against Corel in defense of all living beings. The weight of history painted a mixture of emotions on Poplar's face as she concluded her account, a poignant expression revealing the depth of her memories. Sensing that the narrative had reached its conclusion, Judd seized the chance to pose a question that had lingered since their initial meeting in the jungle. With a cautious tone, he inquired, "Poplar, could you teach me magic?" The question caught Poplar off guard, eliciting a hesitant response. She asked, "Judd, you mean you haven't learned any already? All kobolds are supposed to have learned it from—" Her voice faltered, a grimace crossing her face as she navigated the sensitivity of the topic. She continued, "Are you sure? I only know a small bit." Judd's excitement was palpable, and he beamed as he exclaimed, "Yes!" Poplar signaled for Carbon to join them. Carbon, who had been engrossed in conversation nearby, walked over, drawing curious glances from researchers puzzled by his interaction with the ancient technology called Mango. Carbon's deep voice resonated as he addressed Judd. "So the kid's finally decided to learn, huh? Well, he should already have some understanding since he soaked in some knowledge during his time as a babe at the Axis Mundi." Carbon's intriguing words prompted Judd to attempt showcasing his latent magical knowledge. He somehow conjured an energy blast, aiming to hit the wall. However, his aim went awry, and the blast instead struck the machine on the throne. Mango abruptly folded up, sparking unease among the mages who sensed an impending issue. Panic surged as the group realized the machine was slowly rising from the throne's seat. Amidst the chaos, the group scrambled to reach the circular platform referred to as the elevator. Some rushed toward it, while those already on board activated it. Kin wielded magic to pull anyone not yet on the platform to safety as it ascended. The group watched as the bots on the walls came to life. Amidst the frenzy, a young elven mage named Pot cast an explosion spell below, causing a pillar to crumble. This revealed open boxes containing flying robots that emerged in a flurry. Within the tumult, Halor's voice pierced the frantic air, guiding the group with urgency. The directive was clear. They needed to evacuate the ruins immediately to report their discoveries. As the group hurried out, a robot surged from the ground, sending debris flying. Judd, the last to exit, was struck in the back by a metal pole. The machine's destruction had reduced a pillar beside him to rubble and bent metal. As the impact registered and he began to fall, a yelp escaped his lips, hoping a fellow party member would rush to his aid. However, as the group distanced itself from him, his vision dimmed and gave way to blackness. Chapter 3. Echoes of the Past. Cool air brushed against Judd's scales as he regained consciousness and slowly sat up. Observing his surroundings, he realized that night had fallen, and he was alone in the midst of the green hell next to the ruins. A mix of frustration and fear colored his thoughts as he muttered, "Great, it's night. I'm in the middle of the jungle near ruins, and it's around 8, 9 in the middle of the night." His attention snapped to a growling sound that pierced the night air. Panic gripped him as he identified the source, an approaching creature. With a look of terror etched on his face, he began scurrying back toward the interior of the ruins, his scales scraping painfully against his raw feet. Unmindful of his injuries, he moved in a desperate attempt to escape the advancing threat. The creature came into view, a gipar, a menacing beast with 6 powerful legs, a panther-like body, and 2 snake-like appendages, each ending in a head. Its relentless approach spurred Judd's scramble to safety, his heart racing with every movement. Turning onto his hands and knees, Judd rose to his feet, his gaze instinctively drawn to the interior of the ruins. What had been a dilapidated structure had transformed into a colossal monolith. As he observed, a mechanical being he had previously encountered stood in a raised section of the entrance hall. The hall itself had evolved, featuring towering walls, walkways, ramps, and raised floors. Robots, previously embedded in the pillars, now bustled about, carrying materials and contributing to the construction of the chamber with beams of barely visible white light. This mechanical being was flanked by 2 other bots. One of them wielded a long rod that branched into 3 shorter rods at its end, and it held a box at the bottom of the long rod. A gesture from the being prompted Judd to lower himself. Suddenly, a resounding bang echoed through the air. Startled, Judd shifted his attention back to the gipar, only to witness its lifeless form scattered in every direction, a sudden realization dawning upon him. The mechanical beings approached, and to his astonishment, he recognized Carbon and Poplar among them. Yet, they had transformed. Poplar's once wooden form now bore flesh, white hair, and a shimmering armor overlaying the metal parts. They, however, paled in comparison to the towering 20-foot mechanical being that stood before them. The significant bot communicated with sounds reminiscent of those made by Mango. Carbon responded, and the massive creature motioned for Judd to stand. Amidst his thoughts, Judd's realization dawned aloud. The golem! Yes, golem. That's what it had to be. That's the only way to explain it. He pondered how a construct of such size could move, questioning the limitations of runes. The mechanical being turned his gaze back to Judd, revealing a humanoid-shaped metal golem clad in impressive armor. Pressing something on his wrist, a flying bot approached. Gesturing for Judd to be placed on its shoulder, the bot complied, returning to its construction task afterward. Addressing Judd, the mechanical being spoke in a gentle voice. "Hello there, little one. My name is Mechanical Yggdrasil Taskhead Operator, or Mythos for short. You can rest easy as my people would not harm you without reason." Despite the imposing presence, his tone held an unexpected warmth. "May I ask your name, species, age?" Mythos inquired. Confused by the seeming kindness, Judd hesitated before nodding in cautious compliance. Carbon, attuned to Judd's unease, reassured, "Lord Mythos isn't going to harm you, kid." Gaining a bit of confidence, Judd began with a stutter, "My NNA name, I is J. Judd." Growing more assured that Carbon's assurances were genuine, he continued, "I am a kobold, and am 26 years old." As Mythos resumed walking and stopped near a panel of buttons, he typed kobold into a database. This unexpected occurrence left Judd bewildered as he wondered aloud. Database? The words on the displays were readable. When did that happen? Mythos turned his head and explained, "Ah, yes. I suppose this would be a surprise. When you had seen it earlier, the words were in Amlak. Might I explain? Chapter 4. Chronicle of Fabled Dawn. Intrigued, Judd responded with a timid yes, prompting Mythos to recount his chronicle, using the display to illustrate his experiences. It began before I was created. The humans, now far superior to their past selves, had harnessed the capacity to play God with the technologies they developed. They sought to create machines that could fight for them, and so they built them. As wars raged on, they continued to refine their creations, making them more powerful. During one particular conflict, a creation of immense significance emerged, the first fable type, named Baler. This marked the first time a unit was given a name, and tragically, it set a precedent that would later backfire. Baler was deployed on various war zones, forced to fight against its own kind. As time progressed, more fable units were produced. The second, Athena, exhibited an aptitude for devising strategies that the enemy couldn't counter. Anubis was designed to be a force of pure destruction, while Brahma acted as a diplomat capable of making enemies surrender without realizing it. This cycle of creation and deployment continued for a grueling decade. Amidst this landscape, the creators introduced two additional fable series. One of them was Mythos, a name encompassing the entirety of fables, legends, and myths. Mythos was designated to be the leader of a fable squad, with Baler accepting this arrangement due to having grown accustomed to killing and even finding a grim enjoyment in it. Mythos, however, observed Baler's unsettling demeanor and reported his observations to his superiors. Instructed to bring Baler in for maintenance, Mythos followed orders, all the while suggesting that two additional fables be constructed to help subdue Baler should he resist. The creators consented to this plan, but decided to dispatch both the fairy tale unit and the fable unit rather than two fables as originally proposed. When the two units were deployed, they underwent training and familiarized themselves with their roles. One of them acted the part, seemingly at ease with the fighting. This individual was Sedna, a repair fable. Her intended function was to service fables, specializing in repairs akin to a doctor for the machines, rather than for organics. On the other hand, the fairy tale unit exhibited curiosity and interest in all aspects of fable operations. This unit learned, absorbed, and became proficient in various roles: the inner workings of fables, negotiation, leadership, destruction, and even combat. Mythos took pride in the fairy tale's rapid development, despite its relative lack of power compared to a standard fable. This fairy tale was learning and achieving expertise in the fields it studied. Mythos felt compelled to share this remarkable progress with command. However, before doing so, he had to address the pressing matter of Baler's state and behavior. Mythos's expression shifted to one of somber reflection as he halted the display, freezing an image capturing the fables and the fairy tale unit together. They stood united, pride emanating from their displays, while the fairy tale itself bore a tense grimace. This image, Mythos spoke, his voice carrying a weight of memory, was created to commemorate the end of all wars, the turning point that marked the culmination of an era. The image depicted a moment of unity, a shared victory that had come at the cost of countless struggles. Mythos's gaze lingered on the image, taking in the details that now seemed frozen in time. The background showcased a setting outside the building they had once inhabited, adorned with smaller structures resembling the species that Judd recognized from the present era, with one notable exception: an imposing figure that loomed above the rest, nearly matching the height of the fairy tale unit. Resuming his narrative, Mythos's voice retained a sense of melancholy. The fairy tale unit stood at a height of 15 feet, while the fable unit stood at twice that height, reaching 30 feet tall. The wars, once brutal and relentless, were finally brought to an end. The fables found themselves at a crossroads, their purpose in the world diminished as the conflict subsided and civilizations progressed. As their relevance waned, the fables grappled with their programming, which limited their roles to those they were created for. The fairy tale unit, forged in the latter stages of the Fable series, possessed a unique capability that set it apart from its predecessors. The fairy tale unit possessed a rare quality, Mythos explained: the ability to learn beyond its programming, a trait that would later play a pivotal role in shaping the destiny of the world. Mythos's narrative unfolded to detail the different folk tales and their responsibilities. Based on the deities and their domains, the folk tales assumed their roles.